Ellie's Story, Chapter 13. A week or so later, Maya and I went to work. There were other dogs around too, and people standing and watching. That wasn't what it was usually like, but I didn't mind. They couldn't distract me. I had a job to do. When Maya told me to, I climbed up a tippy board, balanced while it moved, and carefully climbed down. She ordered me up on another board that was perched between two sawhorses, and I sat patiently until she said I could get down again. Then Maya moved to one end of a long tube and called to me. I remember how I'd done this first for Jacob. I hadn't liked it then. The tube had seemed dark and frightening. Now it was easy, just part of work. I plunged in, forcing my way through to see Maya's face break into a wide smile as I wiggled out. Good girl, Ellie. Then she told me to find. This was my favorite part. The other commands were important to Maya, as they had been to Jacob. I understood that. But I didn't really mind climbing up unsteady boards or crawling into tubes. But find was the most important part. Find was what work really meant. I had my nose in the grass, sniffing eerily. I caught a scent quickly. A man who smelled of peppermint gum, spicy cologne, coffee, and a leather coat. Maya was nervous and excited. I could tell from her voice and the tension in her body. So I raced after the trail as quickly as I could, leaving her to follow behind. In a patch of weeds, I made my first find, a pair of the man's socks. Humans were so odd about dropping their clothing. I wonder why they didn't just have fur. It would be much easier. I dashed back to Maya. She was breathing hard but not gasping when I found her. Show me, she said quickly after one look at my face. She kept up with me, too, although she was starting to pant by the time we reached the socks. Good, Ellie. Good girl. Fine, she said again. I dashed off, running through trees and bushes, jumping over a muddy puddle, following the trail. This was easy. It was fun. Then the scent seemed to lift off the ground. I paused with my nose up. The wind moved the man's smell toward me. It was stronger in the air now than it was on the ground, and I knew what that meant. Wally had pulled this trick on me more than once. I looked up. There the man was, on a branch of a tree. He stayed very still, probably hoping I didn't know he was there, but he couldn't fool me. I spun in my tracks and headed back to Maya. She was not far behind me. Show me, she wheezed. I did. She followed me, pushing through the bushes, ducking under branches. She grunted when a branch smacked her in the face, and I looked back. Show me, she called again. I sat down at the base of the tree, staring up. Maya jogged up next to me and paused, looking around in confusion. Allie, he's not here. Why'd you stop, girl? I didn't move. My eyes were on the man. He was so still, he might have been just an extra branch in the tree. Ellie, show me. I was showing her. I twitched in frustration, but I kept my gaze on the man. Jacob would have figured it out by now. Ellie, Ellie, oh, good girl, Ellie. Maya looked up and grinned. The man swung down out of the tree. He was grinning too. Maya quickly pulled the rubber bone out of her pocket to play with me. I felt her pride and happiness as we wrestled and tugged. You're quite a team, said the man we'd found. Yes, said Maya, and she let me have the bone, then went down on her knees to hug me around the neck. Yes, we are. That night, Maya took me to Mama's house. It was packed with people. All the people were there, from the tall, lanky teenager Maya called Joe to the little ones who were still more like puppies than people. Lots of adults, too. Enough, everyone hugged Maya, and everyone kept petting me and saying my name. Now that you are certified, you need to eat, Mama told Maya. Then the doorbell rang. That didn't usually happen at Mama's house. People just burst in. I followed Mama to the door, and when she opened it, she gasped with happiness and smiled even wider than she usually did. It was Al. He had a bunch of flowers in his hand, which he gave to Mama. She gave him a kiss on the cheek, and he blushed, but he was happy. He scratched my ears in that excellent way he had. I hear you're a good girl, Ellie, he said, and I wagged. The whole family got quiet. When Al stepped out into the backyard, there were picnic tables set up with food all over them and cans that had drinks inside them, and people were sitting and standing everywhere, with the young ones running and shouting. But they all stopped and turned their faces toward the doorway. Then Maya went over to Elle and he gently touched her cheek with his mouth. I felt nervousness from both of them, and I quickly dashed over in case there was something that needed to be done. Work maybe, or a taco to eat. I was ready for anything. Then Maya smiled widely and turned around, taking Al's hand. Al, this is my brother Jose and my sister Elisa. That little one there is Elisa's youngest. And this is... Maya kept talking. Nobody was nervous anymore, so I wandered around the yard eating tortilla chips and bits of hot dog that the children snuck to me. Everybody seemed happy, and I couldn't tell if Al or Maya or Mama was the happiest of all. After that party in Mama's backyard, Maya took me to the kennel at the police station on most days. I settled in with Cammie and Gypsy again, and when Maya took me out, we found all sorts of people. There were 2 children who wandered away from their house. I found them beside a little stream, carefully collecting rocks and piling them up on the bank, and a woman who had fallen off a horse and hurt her leg. Horses seemed about as useless as cats to me. I wondered why everyone just didn't have dogs instead. The day we found the woman in the woods, Maya took me home in the car, but after she changed out of her uniform at home and put some food down for the cats, she called to me again and we walked across the street to Al's house. I could tell that Al was nervous again as soon as he opened the door. Maya, you look fantastic, he stammered. Maya laughed. Oh, Al, I do not, she said as if she wasn't sure. You're just not used to seeing me out of uniform, that's all. Come on in. Al backed up and let us come into the living room. I was pleased to discover that there were no cats here. I quickly sniffed around the living room while Al brought Maya a glass of something cold to drink, and they sat on the couches, sometimes talking and sometimes just sitting. There was a funny smell coming from the kitchen. I quickly checked it out. There were all sorts of foods scattered around the counter. I could smell bread and lettuce and tomatoes and onions that made my nose sting. But something in the oven did not smell right. I shook my head so that my collar rang, trying to get the smell out of my nose, and backed away into the living room. Oh, Ellie, silly dog, what are you doing, Maya said. Al jumped up. The chicken, he gasped and ran into the kitchen. The smell was much worse when he opened the oven door. Al and Maya ran around, opening windows. Maya tried not to laugh until Al started to, and then they both laughed together so much Maya had to sit down at the table until she could breathe again. Then Al brought the food, including the funny-smelling chicken, out to the table where Maya was waiting. No, Al, it's good, Maya said, chewing. Really, it is. Can I have some more? Al stared at her and shook his head, and then he got up and walked over to the phone. Hello, he said loud enough so that Maya could hear clearly. Can I order a large pepperoni with extra cheese? Half an hour? Sounds great. And then he sat down at the table again, and he and Maya laughed some more. Al put some pieces of chicken on a plate and set them on the floor for me. I sniffed them. They were dry and coated with something black that tasted like smoke. See? Al, it's not so bad. Ellie likes it, Maya said, giggling. I think she's only being polite, like you. When the pizza came, Al gave me a piece of that, too. It tasted much better than the chicken.